Does it need to be on it there? Or you can see it.
I can see it. I don't know how to turn it on up there.
Welcome to the Town of Tallulah Falls Planning and Zoning Meeting, January the 12th.
Oh, wait. That's not on. Do you know how to turn the camera on?
I don't know what it is.
Because it didn't come on.
Hi. Just you know what?
Okay, we're back live.
Welcome to the Town of Tallulah Falls Planning and Zoning Meeting, February 9th, 2022, 6 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Can someone make approve the agenda as written or make any changes?
I heard that.
All in favor? Okay. The approval of the January 12th, 2022 minutes you've got in your packet. Someone would like to make a motion?
Yeah, well, these are the changes that they went through, we talked about.
So we've got a motion for the minutes to be approved. Need a second? Oh, you made the motion. So one of these guys is second. Okay, Harry second. All right, all in favor? Okay. Old business is the sign ordinance. At the last meeting, we had Georgia Mountain Regional Commission, Adam Hazel, who came up and talked with us and advised us to get a copy of the Georgia Municipal Association ordinance, and Linda has sent us this, and there's some information here on sign regulations, maybe by the state law, and also she has made changes from the town of Tallulah Falls current ordinance with what we made the changes for at the last meeting. There's still quite a bit to discuss. The red is what we had voted on last month. The yellow is, I think, to still discuss for tonight. And this will just be recommendations made to the city council. So if someone wants to start talking, we can. I know that Christy had sent us a copy of another ordinance, and I had talked to the city of Clayton about some of their restrictions. Don't know where we want to start. Do you want to start with it?
I'll start.
Okay,
On the Georgia Municipal Association's model sign ordinance, I really like their entire thing. It was short, it was concise, it was covered a lot of the same stuff. It wasn't so cumbersome, but it covered a lot of what ours already covered before, with some other changes. To me, it was a lot easier to understand than what we have right now.
okay.
I have to agree with that when I looked it over. I mean, there's a couple of things that we might want to just change a little bit to suit our some of the distances and things like that, and some of the footage. Obviously, we need to go through and look and see, make sure that there isn't any conflicts on some of the, but most of it is pretty straightforward, as opposed to like the other ones, not really long. There's, it's just too much. But this seems pretty straightforward.
So, you just want to start with the introduction to let's go back to our current that we've made changes to, and maybe follow up with what the Georgia Municipal Association's recommendations would be. Can we do that?
Sure.
Okay. So the first page on chapter 28 signs is definitions. Pretty much we didn't change any of that because that's the standard.
Yeah. They had in theirs, they called I think it was a free sign, and we called it a ground sign, freestanding sign versus a ground sign. And then they did not differentiate between illuminated versus, from internal versus external in their definition. And we broke it down more.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I talked to Clayton, residential R1, R2, R3, A1, I think has to have the light shining on, so illuminated on. And then for highway business, it could be illuminated out. Now, I don't know if that's, I mean, that would make sense, like your sign up here on Hickory Nut. Is there a light that shined on it? Okay, so that would be allowed, but you wouldn't be able to have a illuminated sign in a residential area.
Right.
You wouldn't want that. I mean,
No.
I don't think so.
No.
So we should make a difference between that.
I think so too.
Well, I think it's the same thing as the flag. In other words, if you want to fly an American flag or a flag or whatever, and it's illuminated, there's certain restrictions on that. And they were talking about in these, flags as being actually a sign.
Mhm.
So I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with the illumination. I also think too, when we're talking about illumination, it might affect traffic.
Oh, there's
And-
one coming
and
down
s-
441 that definitely affects traffic. I
So I think
blinded the
It
other night.
would be smart for us to see if we couldn't get Chief Elrod in here. Just to see if she had any reservations about anything as far as traffic's concerned and light. They give a limit for looms,
Mhm.
for how bright the light can be and all that kind of stuff. We wouldn't want somebody to make a mistake and shine a light onto traffic or whatever have you and create a traffic hazard. I mean, obviously, that's gonna be the thing that we wanna try to avoid. So I don't think it would be a bad idea if we're getting recommendations and that's what we're giving, maybe to just get a law enforcement officer's thought on highway lighting and things like that on signs.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. And that's actually on page 5 that we're talking about as far as sign restrictions. About halfway down the page.
I don't remember seeing, did it talk about that in GMAs?
Yeah, yes, it would.
I'm marked
Oh,
some
here it
stuff.
is, yes. But not very much.
Yeah,
I know how to do it now, but those few times I wanted to do that,
Mhm,
kind of comes out.
mhm.
I have just a general question. With these signs, is there been a complaint or does someone want, why are we doing this?
Because our zoning ordinance and our code did not match. They had things in there that were different.
contradicting each other. So
Okay,
A lot of
the
it didn't
zoning-
match.
The zoning
Mhm.
and the
We
what?
had two ordinance essentially, and they didn't match. They both said different things.
one may
So-
say 50 foot, one may say 100 foot. So
Or
that's
if
what
you're
we're.
gonna appeal, you appeal to the city council versus you appeal to planning and zoning.
Mhm.
They didn't match up, so we're trying to fix it, and in doing that, we're bringing it to current,
Conformity,
Okay.
yeah, because there's a lot of
I
things
missed
that
last week.
it doesn't address.
I'm sorry,
It
what?
does, there's a lot of things that the current ordinance doesn't address. So we're trying to be all inclusive, because it's an opportunity for us going forward. We have businesses coming and they're opening and they're putting new signage up. And you gotta have some kind of conformity about it, or else we'll be chasing around saying, oh, you can't do that, and you don't have anything that says you can or can't.
or
I think
one
that's
said you
just-
could and one said you couldn't, so
Exactly.
which one do you think?
And that's what we have right now, is kind of this one says you can and this one says you can't. It's kind of confusing. So,
Right.
and in doing that, we're trying to make it as simple as possible so it's understanding, because some of these sign ordinances for some of these cities and towns really similar to the tree ordinance that we went through. It's the same kind of idea. We're just trying to upgrade a little bit our ordinances so they make sense.
Speaking of the tree ordinance, was that mentioned in the January meeting?
It's left it for the city
Yeah,
council
we're
to
done
make
with
the final decisions. We're just an advisory board.
Oh, I know, but
Mhm.
shouldn't they be sending it back to us or doing something? They've
They
had
don't
it
have
since
to.
September. They can just let it die there.
Oh, no,
They can change it,
they'll,
do whatever they want.
yeah, they'll change it and then they'll make it into law and then it'll be left up to us.
Well, they
Is it
haven't had a
September?
public meeting yet either on that, so they'll have to have a public meeting for that too.
I'm sorry, what?
They'll have to have a public meeting for that too.
I mean,
We haven't gotten there now.
And
I'm just afraid it's just gonna die there and nothing's gonna happen.
I don't think so. I think we had a lot of discussion about it and we had the, the guest here to inform us. So I think it's just in the hands of the city council now. They'll
Well, I
make a
know, but
decision and
they've had
then
it since September.
we can always review it.
I've
when
got
they-
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's fine.
I've got a question when they say no political sign shall be erected. That word political's gone through a lot of changes in the last 4 or 5 years, and people could approach it from either way by saying that's a political sign, it needs to come down.
Yeah, I think if you look at the Georgia municipal, the GMA.
That
They,
keeps it limited to voting and
uh,
Well, we can put in parentheses when it says no political, after that, we can put in parentheses a specific definition.
Yeah,
You know
because
what I
people can
mean?
easily,
Yeah,
some
I
people
know.
today can come up,
Oh, I
everything's political, so
I don't
even a
think-
church sign could be
Yeah.
political.
I don't think you can not allow them to put up campaign signs though.
Right, but there's a limits on that.
All right, this one says no municipality, county, or consolidated government may restrict by regulations other means of length of time for a political sign that may be displayed, or the number of signs which may be displayed on private property. That's for private property,
Yeah.
which has permission. The statute is less than the model to clarity. I don't know about city property, but on private property, you could stop somebody from putting up a little sign.
Now, can somebody put up a sign in their front yard advertising for a business, or let's say a business they're not even have any interest in, except maybe they're being paid to put the sign there?
That would be a temporary sign, and there is a limit on that.
Right.
Yeah, but as far as, like, I own a house here and I want to put a political sign, a presidential political sign, I can leave it there as long as I want to. I think that's how I read that.
That's how I read, I think in this instance, they're calling political campaign signs.
That's the world I come from, but I've watched the way people are operating these days.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
Now, if it was put here on city property, they could take it up. Though any city, I think after 2 days or,
I don't know, they come through and take them all down.
pretty often, yeah. The state highway will take them down in a hurry. As far as, on a city street, highway business on the city street, not sure.
Yeah, private property, it looks like you can leave it up regardless.
Yeah, on private property. Nothing you know about.
But I could see somebody coming into town, moving here, and another person has a sign that reflects the church they go to, and they say, that's a political sign, and there's restraints on it.
I'm not sure that they could, I think it would actually have to be vote for
Yeah,
as
like
far as a
campaign,
political.
more-
If you're
I
advertising.
understand that. I
Mhm.
completely understand that point of view, but it would be maybe some wiggle room. It would tie up and waste everyone's time,
Yeah.
unless it was more specific.
I think it would, we'll have to look at Georgia code to figure out what they call political.
Yeah, if
signs.
they have an already working definition, that would-
Yeah.
Right, that's
And
all
I think the
mean.
verbiage on it is part of that definition. You can't, she can't advertise on Christie's property for her business. I mean, I guess you
Yeah,
could because it's
I
private.
think
Chrissy could say, I'm doing this for my
She
friend.
could, if it
She
was
gives
her
me
private
permission.
property, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's her friend.
so let's just
Even
talk
if she
about
was
city
paying
property.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure, that's a good question. As far as being on private or city property, private property, I think you can do anything.
Well, it
As
seems
long as you
like-
have a sign permit and it fits the.
Yes, or if it's a temporary, she's got something special going down at her place and it's here for 2 days and comes out an event. Then I don't think you have to have a permit for an event.
Government's
But like if
not
we're
supposed to
just
show
advertising her
things.
business, I don't think I can put one up without a permit and I'm in a district where it's not allowed
Right,
for commercial.
so are you asking this for personal property or city property?
Both of them I'd consider. I understand what it's saying on personal property, but sometimes that's where some of the biggest neighborhood conflicts can enter. By saying, well, that's my right, that's my personal property, and it's
Yeah.
zoned residential. But that sign is offensive. And it's a political sign.
Let me read on and see if it talks about the verbiage of it.
Well, I don't think governments are allowed to show affiliation. I think it's real restricted as far as like government-owned properties
No,
and
I think you-
employees.
Yeah, I don't think you can have that up there. Like you can't stick a political campaign sign on the city truck.
Right, exactly. That's restricted, really. And I think that's what they're getting at.
What page are you looking at?
The one I'm looking at is page 5 of the correction sheet. And then it's also on the GMA. And I have to find it on the GMA. I've seen it on there.
On page 8 of the GMAs,
Okay.
restricting the use of any language other than English, okay, other than English on signs for privately owned business. The city may not require the signage at business, either designed or designated the premises location or merely to advertise. I don't know what that means.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 8,
What?
and it's just basically English
That's
translation.
not good, but
I don't see that.
That's not, I was looking for verbiage, but that's not what I was, that's not what I was thinking it said. It does talk about certain size and permitting requirements. It's page 8 of section 1, the introduction.
I still don't see, mine must be numbered differently than yours.
Was ain't no
it says
difference.
other means of a political sign may be displayed, or the number of signs which may be displayed on private property.
Right here. Another state statutes also prohibits municipal signs ordinance from restricting the use of any language other than English.
Yeah, I get the number.
I was looking for verbiage and I thought that's what I was reading, but that's, I'm skimming through here.
Find on the GMA and what's here sometimes, because I saw it. When I was looking through earlier.
Definitions include the kind of sign.
Well, in our ordinance on page 5, it says no political sign shall be erected or placed on any property except private
Right.
authorized property.
Exactly.
So you wouldn't be allowed to put a political sign out here on the
Yeah,
roadway.
yeah, I'm thinking the neighborhood, as far as one neighbor, let's say, that person made me angry, I'm gonna show there.
Mhm.
And they have time and they have resources to scatter around like that. Say, well, I want them to take down that sign.
I don't think you can tell them again,
Yeah.
depending on the size of the
Property.
sign.
And if they have a permit that allows that.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's gonna be more than just a, they've got a couple of days just to have a sandwich sign. And then if they're going to do 10 by 10, they definitely have to have a permit and it has to, fit the ordinance. And in R1, I don't think, or R2, R3, you can have that type of sign. But what does it say? No, that was something we talked about at the last meeting too.
I think that's freedom of speech. I don't think you guys,
Right.
I think that's their First Amendment, to be able to put whatever they want to out there.
And it does say in the GMAs that you gotta be really careful about what you restrict and what you don't. Cause you can get your town or your city or whatever into a
Take that
lot of
into, yeah.
legal. So you need to be careful about what you restrict and what you don't, so.
So basically what we can do is tell you how big, how tall, and what area. I mean, what the sign says, in a neighborhood, let's put it that way, in a
On
neighborhood.
residential property.
What did we come up with as far as the height restrictions?
See, that was so hard for me, but the one in GMA made that so easy to understand.
Yep, I agree.
I really
I
liked it.
agree
It was
100%. They talked about 25 feet on the top of the height for any sign,
Or shorter than your building,
Okay.
which made a lot of sense.
Yeah. and that you can't alter the ground where the sign is at in
To
order
make it
to
higher or lower.
achieve it.
Okay, yeah, so we should insert that as far as our signs.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It made it
Yeah.
very,
You can't build it back.
Yeah.
That really, like, you can see it happening,
Oh.
you know?
yeah.
Nice little 5-foot wall, and then we'll put the 20, stop.
What about the The square footage of a sign not to exceed, a freestanding sign
Well,
not to
they,
exceed.
we talked about 50, what was it, 50 feet?
Mhm.
We changed to 50.
Yeah,
And it was 100, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
so-
don't know what GMA's.
Theirs was easier, I think, too.
But you have to be careful because we have a little town. Little towns don't normally accommodate giant signs.
You know, things are gonna probably happen around here.
They do
Commercial.
mention 50, that's a billboard sign. General size is on page 16 for GMA. Section 13 is the bottom of the page. It says general size, location requirements of non-residential districts. And that's a location, I guess.
Yes, and it's based off how big their property size is. It made it very easy to understand because also in their application process, you had to submit a copy of your plat showing your plat site, your acreage. And that would be how you can determine what the largest sign you can put on there is. And I think the way I read it was that whatever the acreage was, that's the most square footage in sign. There's a certain percentage of square footage of sign you can have on your property, whether it's one sign or 5 signs, you're still only allowed that certain square footage or area, that's what they call it. Square feet, the sign area of square feet.
They go through all the different size, kind of signs. They talk about billboard signs and their sizes. And then they talk about stanchion signs and their sizes.
What is a stanchion sign?
They called it, one that was, I think it was a freestanding sign.
Oh, okay.
Was the way let me go back and look, because I might not be telling you. No, that's mounted, yes, mounted on one or more steel poles set in the ground and of sufficient strength and size to support the advertising portion of such structure which rests upon or is supported by such poles.
But I think, I mean, quite frankly, all those, they talk about 30,000 square feet in size, won't exceed 70 square feet. You know, they talk about 3-acre parcels. And then, you know, that's all stanchion signs now. But I think,
Which is pretty substantial.
yeah, it's
I'd say that's
actually,
a-
it's kind of large, but, you know, we need to watch that because there's quite a few stanchion signs actually in Pool Hall.
Really? And it's
Yeah.
mounted on posts like.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's one, as a matter of fact, right on where everybody parks for the boats, where it says boaters only.
Mhm.
That, I believe that's a stanchion sign.
Okay.
It's on 2 poles and then it has a
Yeah.
sign in between it.
Yeah.
And that's quite large.
I was
It's-
gonna
it's
say, should
actually
we
like,
change that
30,
30,000
40
square?
feet.
foot? That's-
Well, that's 30,000 square feet for your whole entire parcel.
Oh, the parcel,
Your-
parcel.
Right.
Your parcel.
And that's a big piece of
Okay.
land that sign's on.
And
That
where's
land
that?
is probably 3
Right down
acres
here
or
where
more,
the
you know what I
voters
mean?
park when they're
So
doing
that, that would
it.
really conform.
Okay.
to-
Oh,
So that's the parcel, but the sign area is 70 square foot. So
Right.
that's not bad. So do we want to insert that and are we gonna call it stanchion, or we're gonna call it mounted?
I like the stanchion because it specifically tells you what type of pole it has to be on a steel pole to be that kind of sign. Versus on a wooden pole stuck in the ground, you're not gonna be able to get nearly as big because it's not gonna support the weight of a bigger sign.
So that would be considered a freestanding sign.
Or a
then,
monument.
or monuments.
I think their definitions were better than ours on that kind of thing. They were quick, to me, it was just clearer. Yeah, so you have monument sign shall mean a freestanding sign mounted directly upon the ground. Such sign shall not be attached to or part of or supported by the building in or to which the sign applies. And that one's not telling you what it has to, what kind of support system it has to be on.
Right.
So it's smaller, and so when you look at the size requirements for that, they're also smaller. They can't exceed 60 square foot. And you can only have one of those.
Yeah, I understand, makes a lot of sense. And then you can always refer back to the definitions that they give you, you know, for each sign. But again, this is just a model, so it says in there, before and after, do not use this verbatim.
Mhm.
Yeah, I noticed that, so what do we do, rewrite it?
Well, because what we deem for our town size is gonna be different from what Clayton should have as their town size. And their highway business district's a lot different than ours, so they should be able to allow things that we might not necessarily can have or want to have. I think is what they mean by that. It's not a one size fits all, tailored to fit your
I
town.
know what it
Exactly.
says.
So looking at the definitions, would we want to replace ours with
If we're gonna,
specific ones?
I mean, to me, theirs were easier to read as far as their sign types.
Mhm.
And then you were able to immediately go and see, well, I want a steel post sign, so these are the dimensions I have to have because my flat is this size. I wouldn't have to come to you and say, I need help, tell me what I can have.
Yeah.
That's something I feel like you can go out and say, well, this is what it says I have to have, so let me go to my sign maker and see if we can do that, or if I like that option even, without having to come and ask for help. Reading
Here's,
our ordinance.
if you look at the do's and don'ts on page 10 of GMA, going back to what he was talking about, what he was questioning, it says, don't restrict the length of time a political sign may be displayed, or the number of signs which may be displayed on private property. So it's telling you right there, don't do that, because you're gonna get yourself into a problem,
Yeah.
which is, you know, it's a good rule to think about.
Yeah,
So you gotta be careful,
and then further down, it also says, don't ban signs in residential areas.
right?
Because
Because it's a residential area and people own it and they're gonna fight you for that, so. Now, that's not to say that you don't have a homeowners association that,
Yes, if you have covenants, that's a totally
that's a
different.
different
ballgame.
animal, but.
Have you read this right here in section 3, the existing signs which conform?
Yes, I love that because it makes them all have to put it on. That's what I
You just put them on notice.
Yeah, section two.
Well, then we know what they've got, and then the city has a baseline for, did you change your sign?
Yeah, and audit.
Because you changed it and now it doesn't conform and you should have not been able to put it back up.
So we definitely want to insert that in ours.
And I like their whole process, the way they wrote their process out for how
Mhm.
you go about applying. It was very, straightforward for that too. how to do it. And the application information was the same pretty much, except for we did not require, in ours, we don't require the name of all the owners. The names and addresses of all the owners of the property for which the sign is to be located, and I like that too, because you might not know what, one hand might not know what the other one's doing. And then the other one was, we didn't require to know the size of the parcel,
Mhm.
and the GMA did. And we wanted to know who was gonna make the sign, but we didn't get the phone number, address of the person that made the sign. But that might be something somebody wants to share later. I mean, they did a great job with the sign. It's another sign contact for other businesses. I think we should collect that information. Especially if they did a great job. Pass it along.
Well, here's something that's confusing to me on the definitions,
On ours or,
on the GMA,
What page?
page 12. Read the definition for freestanding signs. Freestanding signs shall mean a sign securely affixed to a support structure which is permanently attached to the ground and wholly independent of any building for support, such as monument or stanchion signs. So that would mean to me that a monument or a stanchion sign could be affixed to a building.
no.
Sounds like to me
They
that
can't be.
freestanding and
The
stanchion are the
Well,
same.
it says the freestanding needs to be wholly independent
Yeah, it
of
can't,
any building.
it can't be attached to a building.
Right, but it says such as, so that means neither one of those signs can either?
They
Okay.
cannot. And they state that in their definitions, they state that
Right,
they
well,
can't.
that's what was confusing to me. Okay, so such as, so what they're
So those are
saying
the
is
two
all
types.
three of those signs can't be attached.
Yeah,
Okay.
that, like a freestanding sign would be your billboard, your stanchion, or your monument
Okay, that
sign.
makes
And then
sense.
those are the different types of freestanding signs that we're gonna discuss.
I was reading such as incorrectly. So I was thinking that such as meant that you can't do that with it, rather than that's inclusive of.
You know, the town's not gonna allow billboards there.
Well, that's what we're talking about, because, yeah, that'd be a good one, right?
It's a small
Somebody make
billboard.
$1,000 a month on a billboard, have a whole bunch of them. Yeah, I think that's a problem. We need to, Maybe
That
address
means
some
it's
of
on
that.
tax.
And each one of these
Special
signs
tax
will be
rate.
$40.
I
yeah, it
don't
wouldn't
think
matter
that,
what the tax is if you've got,
I think it's based on.
You're too small to tell.
We don't have much area for one.
The $40 fee.
I mean, even the Department of Transportation.
It seems like that'd just be for a commercial
On the
sign.
trucks.
And we have all the.
I think
such
it's
a small
different.
right away, it's hard to have.
I
Just
said
said
that.
the cost of a permit will be $40
But still,
per sign.
Right here on page 10 of the city ordinance, it kind of goes back to. It was different prices. Which building district in
Which
which
page is that?
It's page 10.
Yeah, I think we just have a link to where you go find your,
The size of the sign.
the
and then
size or the fee.
The fee.
Yeah, I think there's when I read it earlier today, it said you go look in a different spot for the fees.
Yeah, like if you were gonna have a bigger sign, it should be a bigger fee, but I don't know that they're all $40. I don't know. I'll give you an example. There's some in Clayton that's $25 and there's some that's $100. I mean,
Yeah,
it's based
And I
on,
think, the one that I sent y'all to from Hilton Head had it based on the size of the sign and the type of the sign
Mhm.
was how much you paid to.
Yeah, I think that's how it should be, but, for looking at it and seeing it, it's,
I saw that somewhere, that each sign.
yeah,
is
that's,
$40.
that's in this,
Yeah,
GMA's ordinance.
so what is it each, so what is it for $40?
No, that's what I'm looking for. Will be established by the government body from time to time shall be charged for each sign requiring a separate inspection. I guess as they come in, you got a permit. She may have a fee schedule.
Yeah, I think one of these, it may have been the zoning ordinance that said, look at the fee schedule, but there was a link to the fee schedule on where to go to see that.
I do this as sounds like from time to time shall be charged for each
Fees
sign
for permits shall be provided in
requiring a
section
separate
2.1. It
inspection.
was in the zoning ordinance that we were given last time.
Yeah.
Not our code, but our zoning ordinance last time. It says that fees for permits shall be provided in section 2.1. And we weren't given that information. I knew I had read it somewhere.
So should we just take the billboard signs out completely? Or should we put words in there that says no billboard sign?
I don't know. I don't, we need to include it. Because if we don't include it. But
Well, we
what
can
what we
work
decide to
for-
do with it.
Prohibited signs, I mean, we just say billboard signs of this.
Or no signs of this, no signs greater than whatever
Right,
are prohibited in the town, period.
yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Now, does the town extend all the way to the second light going north?
Well, it's right beyond do you know where the recycling place is?
Yeah.
It's the
Kind of like
sign.
halfway the.
Yeah, there's a sign.
The
you
two,
can
the
see.
two lights,
Past that light.
this, past the first light. How about the second one that would have you? I'll take a look at it.
I think it
Yeah,
goes
I'll
down
look it up.
past, it just goes past the recycling center.
there's a sign that
I
says,
know what the
welcome,
recycling,
welcome to the town of Tallulah
Yeah.
Falls. That's gonna be.
And that would be defined as count from now on.
Exactly. Now, as far as what east, west, I'm not sure, where that designation is, but it's like, I would call north, south. The
Yeah,
sign,
the
the sign.
potential of big signs on the other
There's
side,
a sign, yeah,
Is
there's a
there,
sign
or
there. and
off the
there's a
gorge, also. Where I could imagine any big signs potentially coming. But it's gotta be something to catch it one way or another, instead of just, oh, there it is, and we don't have a rule about it. Because you could have up to 2, maybe 3 signs in that section north of the bridge. It could get real busy with signs and make a lot of money. And then everything looks totally different.
Well, once that starts, that's a slippery slope.
Yeah,
Then of course, we can't tell them and what they can put on there on the city park, that they can put out there anyway. They can do whatever they want to do.
I think we can restrict, size of signs within the right of way of highways and roads.
Even when it's,
that state park is probably real strict rules.
and I don't see them putting up the giant signs, but they would have to be one to approve it to get it put up everywhere in their meetings.
Private property, but
But yeah, I'm with you. I think we should, if we don't want to have billboards, then we need to set a cap on size limit period, and that just does away with it.
It does seem here 300 square foot for a billboard. We can modify that.
Did we even talk about billboards and hours? I don't even think our current one even discusses what a billboard is. Does it?
This makes us have a size.
I think it just said something about 100 square feet.
Yeah. But in the
Ridiculous.
GMAs, I think it said 300.
Yes, but it all, in GMAs, it also is the difference between the two, where, the billboard down to the stanchion, whatever, and this, the other one goes, the highest it can go is 150 square feet.
100 square feet.
I know that seems really large, but that was on for 3 acres of land,
Oh,
so
okay,
you're
yeah,
not, that's not much on
right.
3 acres of road.
Yeah,
you know, the big-
currently, it looks like 100 foot is the biggest sign. for that.
Right, and we even thought that was. that
Kind
one.
of large.
Mhm.
I meant to go measure my sign. So did I happen to do that, just looking, what kind of sense we have. I think that's nice, small size.
But it's big enough to get it.
It's big enough.
It's big enough to know what you got, and it's
Yeah.
probably the same size as the Tallulah 1982 one that's turned, if you turn it sideways, size-wise, and theirs is proportionate to their building too,
Mhm. I think that's the key though, is
proportion.
proportion.
And that's what this one said too, was talking about proportion. and yeah. One thing that it did talk about, we talked about this, the window signs.
Yeah,
GMA covered that. I don't know if y'all noticed, but it
Yeah,
couldn't
I
take
did.
up more than 30%, even if it was on the inside of the window, but you wanted it to attract the attention of people on the outside. And I like that.
And I think Clayton's is
Designation.
25%, so, no. Yes.
Yeah, but their
Trying to
buildings are
remember now,
congen-
something
can-
is 8%.
They can be very large in some of the buildings in Clayton and what they develop there too.
um,
It was
Apparently
the
walls
temporary
is
signs
one-
is not to exceed 8
a
square
wall
foot.
that extends past the building.
And that's really
And then
large.
You have a roof section.
Eight
and then
square foot,
a
yeah.
wall that
Well,
goes past
What
the
would that be,
that
a
could
4 by
Considered a
4?
parapet
So,
wall. Or
8
any
square
wall
foot.
that
Oh,
goes
I'm
down
sorry, I
above
was
the
not, I
roof
was thinking,
is
yeah,
enclosed.
Yeah.
yeah, that's not very large.
but that's a temporary
That
sign.
makes
But that's
perfect
big
sense.
enough for
That's big
anything
enough
you
for
want to put up,
yeah.
telling you got something coming before you wait for your other sign to come in. Or that you're having some kind of special at your restaurant. So do y'all want to say that we're going to adopt, we want to change all the definitions to match what GMA has definition wise?
I would think so, but we can get a motion on that.
With the exception of internal elimination versus external elimination.
Okay. Does someone want to make that motion?
I mean,
I'm-
do
I think so.
y'all kind of
It's
agree with
very
that?
clear.
Yeah, I thought so
It's just
too.
one word I didn't know out of everything. I don't look like that. It was very clear.
I thought so too.
Yeah, after I mean, that was the only confusing part for me was what I asked, and then y'all kind of straightened me out on it, so I'm good with it. It makes sense to me.
Okay, so we've got a motion to adopt the GMA's definition of signs,
With,
excluding,
yeah, with the separation of eliminated internally versus externally.
Second that.
so you made the motion, so who made the second motion? Or Christie? Okay, all in favor? As far as the existing signs under the Georgia Municipal Section 3, under permits, the existing signs which have to conform to this provision of this ordinance that would be required to obtain a permit under the regulations of this ordinance to register with the city 90 days from the effective date of this ordinance. Do we want to adopt that?
I think so. I'll make a motion for that.
Christie made a motion, have a second? Carrie, all in favor? All signs allowed by this ordinance except those exempt from obtaining a permit shall require a permit. We've already got that in our current ordinance. Do we want to,
Where you at?
section 3, under the permits? Section 3A.
Yeah, I think we already have that.
Yeah, I think that's already listed in our current one. So,
Yeah, it is, section 28.7A required. We can add, I think we should add that, the, language about existing signs that go on to that section right there.
Okay. Would you like to make that motion?
We can, or I can just add it to the previous one.
Okay.
I mean, I'll make a motion to add that to the previous motion.
And then I have down the height requirements under, as far as what she's got question marked here, page 16, under section 12. As far as the stanchion sign shall not exceed 24 feet from the height of the highest point on the sign. And then the general size and location requirement and requires a copy of the plat, that's section 13. We all want to add that to,
Okay,
sorry,
We're
page
on.
16,
Yeah, it's under
under
section
principal
12.
uses.
okay, so we want to, that section 12 of GMA into the principal uses portion.
Yes.
I will make a motion for that.
Okay. Second, all in favor?
Now, I've got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
I wasn't here last month.
Well, this is right here on page 5 of this one where we've got some highlights
I'm
here.
here following you.
Okay. All right, so instead of it being not exceeding 100 square foot.
Mike, could you second, that?
Yes, I second that. Now, I do have a question.
Okay.
Over at the gorge where they have so little square footage outside of the commercial property, so many of them just right there on the gorge in the road. What about signs that are on the roof?
That would be part of the building signs, which
At
is,
GMA, we did not, in ours, we don't exclude roofs or we
I think
don't.
Because
ban it.
that's almost the only way they can, not the only way, but it would be their most effective way.
Right, ours does not ban a roof sign, but the GMA banned roof signs outright.
Exactly.
On the roof.
well, a roof sign shall mean a sign attached to or supported by a roof or of a building which extends above the immediate adjacent roof line. That's the definition of it. And then you're saying it's not, where's,
I don't think in ours that
Oh.
we discussed roof signs at all.
okay, well, we
But
just
in-
adopted or we are gonna make a recommendation for the definition of it. So should we have something? It's on page 13,
We're gonna have to put in there something like that.
or we can eliminate the roof
Yeah.
sign. What would y'all like to do?
Or in that instance, we just say we ban roof signs, but they would have to appeal for a
A variance.
hardship and show that they can't put one anywhere else.
I could see where somebody would want one. The potential of a sign on, because there really is no other space other than on the building. And then on
No,
the building,
Jim-
you have to drive by it.
Right, and the GMA did say in theirs they had awning signs,
Mhm.
which is gonna be down closer on, which I would assume would be closer to the bottom. I would think of a roof sign being across the top above your roof line.
Right, right.
And then down like above the door, but on the roof would be more like an awning sign.
Mhm.
But then, in some of those spots over there, parking, that's all you have. You couldn't push it further out, am I correct? I mean, there's only so much room to park a car and then get into the business.
Where are you talking about?
Along the gorge,
We're on the.
At the loop,
at the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, to a point, I mean, it's a roof sign, I mean.
And they would have to take that off.
Oh,
take them down.
I don't know where y'all are talking
and there
about.
was.
at the actual gorge, when you turn on the loop road, the Tallulah Point,
Is that the
where you
name of
look
it?
down
Tallulah Point?
into the
Oh,
gorge.
I haven't been there.
Oh, yeah.
What is that formally called?
I didn't realize it was your store.
Tulip plant.
Oh, I'm thinking you're talking about in the gorge. Okay, yeah, no, yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, they would have to, I mean, I would think, yeah, you could.
But that
they
would be
need to apply
considered
for
a hardship or a
and that would be a
variance.
no-brainer.
What is that area officially called?
Sorry, I wasn't,
Tallulah Point.
Tallulah
Tallulah Point.
Point,
Point.
the point.
Yeah.
And the Stuckey's used to be there a long
Oh,
time.
no, Stuckey's was up by the bridge.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, all of that, where Stuckey's was
Okay,
and all that, I mean, that's where the state park has their sign now.
okay.
Yeah, all that is gone, but over there on the scenic loop,
Yeah, your place used to be.
yeah, it's pretty much known
The
as
Point.
Tallulah Point.
Okay.
I mean,
Confused
the
for
thing
y'all.
about, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna interject. The thing about roof signs is, especially on the highway, like I'm thinking about the restaurant, there's so much restriction with DOT about putting up signs. And roof signs makes it really easy to advertise your business in a place where you can put a sign. I mean, I would love to have a roof sign on over here, because it's, it's noticeable.
Yeah, but
Versus
even
my
that,
little awning sign.
but like I get the overlook would have to have theirs on top above the roof.
And when you say above the roof, what are
We're
you
talking about like attached at
above
the
the
ground.
roof line?
Yeah.
Above the roof line?
Yes, that's what
Oh,
that's what
that's
I'm considering a
ridiculous.
roof sign.
Oh,
But
I'm
I
thinking
think that's
about
called
a
an
roof sign
awning
that,
sign, as long as it doesn't go above the roof line. It's considered awning as long as the roof is taller than the sign.
That's
This
what
is
I
saying
thought.
oh, I totally had y'all, I
Adjacent
thought, because,
Roof
oh,
lines.
I was thinking of what y'all were talking about was anything, a sign that's on the roof. Right, like,
Cause that's what I
Yeah,
thought it
yes,
was
the roof.
too, but reading theirs, they call it an awning if it does that. And if it's above the roof line, it's a roof sign.
oh God, nobody wants a sign way up on the roof. I mean, that's like, oh,
I could see somebody doing that though, or
I
saying
could
that's
too.
my best shot.
I could too,
wow, that's like, wow. Yeah, no.
but I would think we would allow that to be a hardship and
Yeah, it would
something.
have to fall under that.
So
not-
if this would not be saying that you couldn't put, like, where, what
Yeah,
it's
the
like
last
at the
thing we
point
need to
right
do is put
now.
up a giant illuminated from within sign at the very top of your roof line,
Oh, God.
flashing.
So an awning sign shall mean a
Right.
sign located on a roof-like cover extending before as it placed on the shoulder. So what you're talking about is awning. A
Oh,
roof line is on
the actual roof line,
Mhm.
wow.
But
okay,
I
I'm
would think,
sorry.
yeah, depending upon the way your property is built, how you're able to build on your property, you might need a roof sign in some instances, but I would say let's ban them and then,
Yeah, they'll have
Let it
to
be a
appeal for
hardship.
that.
and maybe their sign just extends a little bit above their roof, or whatever. But
The only time.
It doesn't make sense now. It would look tacky and out of
Oh,
place.
my
But
God.
if you redid that whole area, having the right kind of sign there wouldn't be outlandish.
I wouldn't think so.
So does someone want to make
It
an
doesn't fit in with what's there now.
amendment to that motion to remove the roof sign?
Okay, let's come back. But we don't want to because they're banned. We don't want to remove it from a definition because it's banned.
Okay, all right,
But they
I
could
think-
enter it under a hardship. Say,
Right.
listen, I
okay,
really need
Okay,
to have a
okay.
sign to show.
all right, so
Yeah, I think,
there would be no amendment to that motion then.
yeah, I think further, yes, I think if we look at it further somewhere in here, I believe it was. It was that roof, that they were banned.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was trying to find it and I can't.
I remember, I'm glad to serve the.
Well, it has to be banned because you can't have a sign taller than your building. So it was automatically banned without saying roof signs are banned. It could be taller than your building.
But we
What?
might want to take it one step further and just say that roof signs aren't allowed.
And Christmas decorations are a whole other conversation. Has nothing to do with any of this.
Well, they
Unless
are
it's on
in
a flag.
GMAs and it was in Hilton Heads. I don't know if you noticed further in Hilton Heads, it was in theirs too. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that's a little.
but it
much.
was like, they were not, Hilton Head went as far as to say that you could have them in your yard from November 1st to January 15th. And then after that, you could not have inflatables in your yard, but more than 60
Like
days
an
of the year.
inflatable on the roof, a 12 footer. That's
But if they actually, I think they didn't even ban them in some places because of the wind, and I don't know, the wind that's been around here lately, we weren't. on those either.
That's gonna be a problem.
But, I mean, you know, I haven't seen anything horrible, but I don't know, do you include, I mean, do you include it in yours? That's,
I haven't even seen it.
we don't have, I mean, I don't remember
I'm
seeing.
talking about in Toledo Falls.
Yeah, because there again, you can't tell people what they can do on their private property, but in the residential district, you can't really tell them what they, I don't
Well,
know.
the wind up
I'm not
here,
on that, but yeah, but in,
I can imagine.
we didn't have anybody that went, that I saw that
No,
went
we're not.
overboard with anything that was ugly or tacky or too much, gaudy or anything like that.
You know, I just like to comment, we're doing all this work to make our town look nice. And then right, it says to keep the town from clutter and all the clutter that we have in Toledo Falls. I mean, how can I get excited about signs with all the clutter that we have? I'm just making that comment.
Page 5.
Page
Could be
5,
worse.
it says to keep the town from clutter.
Without it, it could get worse.
Have you guys read
Yeah.
on
Okay.
page, on GMAs on page 22? Have y'all read that section 9 prohibited signs? You might want to read that before we go too much further, just read through that paragraph real quick and then we have to be careful about what we're doing.
Where is it? What
Page
is it on
22 on the GMA,
Yeah,
and if you go down to section 9,
okay.
just read that paragraph real quick.
Yeah. Somewhere else in here too, it went inside their model ordinance, it talked and actually quoted Georgia code for them. Signs which contains words, pictures, or statements which are obscene as defined by the official code of Georgia. So that, we don't want to go beyond that, I would think,
Right, exactly.
that's,
But, and I'm also talking about outright bans, like, we're talking about banning roof signs. We need to be careful, like you said, if we do it where it limits, you can't go higher than the actual building, that might be better language than no roof signs are allowed.
right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and that helps in the differentiation of where she was saying that she didn't understand
Right.
when we're talking about as an awning versus above your roof line too. I
So,
just
and
say
that's-
nothing
and
above.
that's talking about signs that are attached to the building. Because you could have a single-story building with a sign that's 24 feet high,
Right,
as,
outside
as
on a pole.
long as it's detached.
Right.
But when we're talking about signs on the building, it can't be on the building any higher than the building is built.
Right.
Whether
That's
you have a parapet wall or whatever that you want to put it on, it has to stay below that parapet wall.
Unless you apply for a hardship as to why you need.
I see that makes a lot of sense, and it doesn't really ban anything, it just gives limitations, which I think is probably better language. Do y'all agree with that?
Yes, so you want to make a motion to use that verbiage?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we've got a motion to use section 9 on prohibited signs from Georgia Municipal. Can I get a second? Right. all in
Oh, wait,
favor?
hold on, that's not actually the thing, that's just notes.
On the prohibited signs?
To do the prohibited signs, this is what you have to say. They give you suggestions on page 15, and then the notes section in the back is what you need to worry about prohibiting.
Okay.
But we can adopt that whole section 9, and instead of saying roof signs, signs that extend beyond the roof line.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, yeah, I just think that the point I was trying to make is, I think we should be careful about the verbiage, that's all.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what GMA is saying.
Yeah, because when it gets into signs, we you're gonna get challenged at some point when businesses start growing.
I agree.
That's
So we
where
want to say motion to use section 9 on page 15 of GMA with roof signs changed to no signs extending higher than roof line.
Yeah. Or the building, because a parapet wall sometimes will extend above the building, you understand? Okay, when you have a parapet wall, let's say you're
What is a
looking at a
parapet wall?
square, it's a wall that extends above a roof line. So in other words, you could have,
I've seen come up there and work.
you could have a wall and your roof line be down below that wall. So I mean, it's actually part of the building, and you could theoretically put a sign across that parapet wall, but not on top of it. In other words, you can't extend that sign above the parapet wall. It's from the top of the parapet wall down,
So,
or the height of your building, whatever
so
that
we'll
may
just
be.
say no signs extending higher than the height of your building.
Exactly right.
So we're gonna make that motion. Anyone wants to second it? All in favor?
So who made, I made the motion?
You made the motion. You read it off perfectly.
You following that too, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
When they say animated signs, it's cartoon characters,
The marquees that do different things,
oh, they're moving around.
Yeah,
Oh, those are the best ones.
like the ones
Well, like we have one here in town.
Well,
Little
that's
Falls School.
good.
oh, that's right. Yeah,
And that's illuminated from,
within. Well, is it? Yeah, it is. It's from within.
so really
It's not a
honestly,
flash
when that
Little
sign
Falls School,
got
where the
put
old
up, it
motel.
was-
Oh, yeah,
motel
that's
used to be.
right.
That's good.
Would that apply to a flashing arrow?
I think it has to be almost like an emergency amber or something to be not in the conforming, right? It can't look like an emergency vehicle that is on your sign.
Or like traffic directions for what DOT puts out, like,
Or dancing girls or,
But animated is,
it's
anything that
like the
moves.
Moving.
reg department, they have a sign that's constantly moving or giving different
Oh, okay.
information.
okay. I
What's
get that.
they may have given a definition in here
Yeah,
too.
they do on the GMA, page 12. Which
Add
is-
their motion or changing colors that require electrical
Electricity.
energy.
Mhm.
But I like here that they said,
The 6 hours you talking about?
no, because that, I mean, he does the sign for 6 hours and changes it every 6 hours. That doesn't make sense. But no, they had one that, somewhere I was reading, it may be hours, but it may have been, Hilton Heads that, I don't know, I read so much lately, that like if it was just time and temperature, it didn't count for animation. And that's like the banks usually have just time and temperature that rotate over, and that didn't count as an animated sign. But if it puts out stuff like their products or services or things like that, that counts.
Yeah, that would be considered informational, I think.
Yeah.
Well, informational signs come under different.
I think another big one that we need to talk about is the maintenance of the sign. And it says, according to our notes here, review GMA's guidance. Read that here. Oh, I read it. Got too many papers out here now, but
I just the only part that I saw was enforcement and penalties.
well, the current ordinance says due to the historic nature of the beauty of the town, all signs must be tastefully blend with the town settings. All signs together with any support, guide wires, braces, anchors, be kept in good repair, be visibly harmonious with the surrounding area. And I think where I'm going with this is just if there's a sign that is half
falling down.
hanging, you know, those are the kind of things that we need to make sure that we have got something that we can govern.
And section 19 of GMA sort of goes over that. All signs need to be maintained in good condition as to present a neat and orderly appearance. The city may, after due notice, issue a citation to any permittee for any sign which shows gross neglect or becomes dilapidated.
Okay, yeah.
And it says
But it doesn't-
$150.
Per day,
Yeah, it starts to get a little expensive.
but it also says you can go to the municipal court can override that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
we could-
probably a base that the judge could, you know, change that
I
to.
mean, because obviously if they can, I mean, if they prove that they're trying to get somebody out, but they can't get somebody out to come fix it or take it down or replace, you know, they can say, hey, you're in a contract, you're coming back, 3 days from now. I would see why they'd be fined continuously for that if they've made an effort to start that process.
So is that something we want to think about adopting then? That's section 19.
I don't see anything else other than, section 14 says construction standards. And it just, for that, it just says constructed and maintained in accordance with provisions of the building code. So we would need to look at our building code for that, or put language in there for what we consider to be okay, or what we consider to be in need of repairs. Oh, it does come down to non-conforming right underneath that,
Mhm.
hazard or unsightly.
So would we want to insert section 19 on the enforcement? And then section 15 for non-conforming?
I think so. Do we have a place for those already,
How's
or
that?
do we just have a spot to put it in?
On the maintenance, it's just a short section. And it basically is saying the opinion of the zoning administrator. If the sign becomes insecure or danger of falling otherwise unsafe, in the opinion of the zoning administrator, the owner therefore, or the person or firm maintaining the sign shall have written notice from the zoning administrator. I think this one gives it more, whether we change the 10 days or the 150, I think it spells it out better.
It's almost like we want to replace that paragraph B with the GMA paragraph,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Which one?
Remove paragraph B under section 2810 on page 6 of the city's ordinance.
We're replacing it with what?
This is section 19, enforcement and penalties. This is under maintenance and signs. Because it would be redundant to keep B and put paragraph A, B, and C in there.
Okay, so we're replacing all of B.
I like it due to the historic and nature beauty of the town.
I do too. I almost think that needs to go to our purpose statement.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I like that. I'd like to just keep that. But it does say right under there, review GMA's guidance. Well, we're doing that right now.
Yeah, okay, I'm good with that. It makes sense.
So we're
I was
kind of
confused with which one you want to
replacing
put there.
what the rest of B, take B out and just replace it with A, B, and C.
Okay, so you're making that motion?
Yeah,
Okay, anyone want to second that? All in favor? Okay, motion passed. I like that too.
and then with that.
What is the process if someone sees a sign? I mean, if Linda sees it, does she have the authority to react according to these rules, or does someone have to complain to her?
I think,
Not complain, but a discrepancy that they see. How is
I
that?
think it's either or. I think Linda, as the, what do you call her?
Zoning
Zoning
administrator.
administrator, she could see it, or someone could make
Find
a,
out.
yeah.
Do they have to make an official complaint or just?
Either way, I think just being put on notice.
That's something that we should discuss. You know what I
I
mean?
agree, if we're gonna.
I
do
think we
this,
should
I
discuss
think
on how to go about whether we have a form, you know, that you can fill out and it has to meet certain criteria. You know,
I would agree with that,
For
because when you
complaints?
start,
That she probably has a complaint form. I'm pretty
you
sure
have
that she
to
does.
ask and see, but if she doesn't, you know, that's something that we should talk about. And we might want to look at the complete form and make sure that it's following what we're doing here. Just for a recommendation to the council, if we think they should, you know, either keep what they have or have to, you know, update it or whatever.
Mechanism of enforcement. All this.
It would go
She
to
would go
that
out.
eventually. You know what I mean? That would be like, that would be the.
Linda.
I think
Oh,
Linda would be the
It
It
person.
says it has to be written,
From Linda.
exactly.
And it said they do nothing.
Then I-
Then it would go into enforcement state, I think.
And
Yeah,
then
I
then it
think
would
that
go to the
one-
court, then it would go to municipal court.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that
Linda
the
would be the one
mechanism.
to take it to municipal court.
And
But I
that
think that. the
2 months would probably be the.
Tanya would
Most
be
amount of
the one
time.
that goes out and writes the citations
and-
for each time, or notices the citations and writes them.
You
and
know, once it's in
sends them out.
paper.
Right. I mean, you want to give people a chance, and quite frankly, if they're trying to come into compliance and they've made contacts of whatever, you know, then obviously leniency is the best. I mean, we're not gonna sit there and start, oh, you're beyond your 60 days or whatever. You know, we just want to get people to go ahead and work towards.
Yeah, we need a starting point so we can work towards that. And I
And
like
making progress.
the audit, you know, so the 90 days so that everybody has to say, okay, you know, these are my signs, this is the information behind it, so that we do have a sign audit. So that the next time that this becomes a discussion, we can say, oh, well, this is what we have.
Right.
That was the first thing that I had asked Adam, you know, do we have a sign audit?
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, Linda said they didn't have anything on record at all last week, so this would give us that.
It's a new filing cabinet.
Yeah. All right, any more discussion?
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
I do want to say in the application process, GMA suggested that we have, a set date. And I think we need to add that to our application process as well. Like you have, within 30 days, you'll have your answer back.
Oh, yeah.
That
absolutely.
needs to go in there.
That's probably, yeah, on the application itself. Do we have a copy of the application?
No, I don't have a copy of it.
No, neither, I haven't seen it. But we can ask Linda to insert that.
Yes, I think right here it said, section 5, time for consideration, that they'll process all application within 30 days, and then you will be notified within that 30-day period. And then if it fails to, if the city fails to act within the 30-day period, it's deemed to have been granted. I think we need to add that
Yeah,
one.
for the business.
They need a time frame, and I've
Sure
got,
they do. Yeah, I
and
agree.
we don't have that. And that was one of the things they said when they take them to court over things, over the ordinances, that you need to have set.
It's part
parameters
of
for
due
everything.
process, so yeah, that's due process.
What about the appeals process and the permit expiration?
Our permit expiration matched theirs.
The 6 months, yeah.
Mhm.
No
And that just
refund.
means that you don't erect your sign or get your sign done.
You have
within
to
that
come back
time,
and
You
apply.
gotta
You can't
pay
get your money
another,
back.
or you gotta pay another $40 or whatever to do it again.
Ours doesn't say, I don't think ours says no refunds, but it did say that, that the permit's only good for 6 months. But I think we should take their whole section 5 and section 6 in there and put it in there, because we don't discuss that at all, I don't think. Anywhere.
Okay, do you want to make that motion?
Let's find where we're gonna put it.
All right.
Oh, there it is. It's in section 28.7.
Yeah, sign permits required.
It's at the bottom by D, C and D, C, D, E, and F. I like theirs being a lot more information, tells you exactly how it's gonna happen. Ours doesn't really tell you exactly the whole process, but GMA's went through the whole process to tell you what's gonna happen from the date you drop it off the whole way through.
So we want to replace,
I mean, we might not want to, I mean, we might just want to add more verbiage from theirs into ours.
Right, just sentences of it.
Yeah.
We'll probably just have to go through that and kind of just eject the sentences that we want in certain spots. Cause I'm reading this and
all right, so it does say the same, permit shall not be completed within 6 months of the date. The permit shall become null. Do we then want to say,
But you don't get your money back.
yeah, no refund will be made for permits paid for permits that have expired due to failure?
right,
Okay,
All right, so where's that in ours?
it's page 4, section,
it's under D.
yeah, D.
Section D. 28.7.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's section
So when I add
28.7, paragraph D. And I guess we'd add it at the end,
Yeah.
where it says
Add
null
in,
and void, and then,
I just put in, add in section 7, permit expiration out of GMA, and then just, and add this part too. If later an individual desires to erect a sign at the same location, a new application must be processed.
So
And
add
another,
in last two sentences
yeah.
from section 7 of GMA.
Mhm.
All right, you want to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion, yeah. Someone want to make a
Can you
second?
make a motion?
I don't think so, but,
I'll make a motion.
all right, you make a motion, someone can second it. All right, all in favor?
I have a question. The existing signs, are they going to be grandfathered in?
Yes,
They'll
unless
have to
they
be.
have to, unless they deteriorate and have to be replaced and can't just be repaired. Or unless the business changes or they want to change any information on the sign, then they have to redo the whole thing. They have to
Okay,
apply.
but an existing sign, if it doesn't
If,
need
it's,
it.
no, as long as they maintain their maintenance and keep it up, they don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
As far as the.
But they will have to they'll have to fill out an application within 90 days of when this goes into effect with no application fee, just for us to know what they have day one of this going into effect. So we know if they make any changes, they have to reapply for it.
Right, so
Can
the
I ask
appeals
a
process,
question?
can we keep what we've currently got? Go ahead.
Okay, but so if there's a sign now that is out of compliance with the new sign ordinance, it still gets grandfathered in?
Yes,
That's
unless
just clarification.
something happens to it and needs to be replaced or the business changes ownership.
Right.
Anything that changes,
Unless an
They
act
got
of
it.
God.
yeah. Anything like that would be the only thing that would make you have to change your sign.
Okay, got it.
But you are gonna have to fill out an application for your sign
Just give
within
us
90
some-
days, just telling us what you're
Yeah,
doing, no fees. Just so we're
Sorry,
good
Sarah.
Taking an inventory
Yes,
of what
just so-
signs are in the town.
For when this was
Sign.
adopted, but you won't have any fees associated with that for any signs you have right now.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. Get organized and know what you got and, yeah. Y'all are doing a great job, by the way. You've come a long ways from last month to this month, and, I mean, that's.
Well, it's
that's
gonna be a
great.
lot more too. We're not gonna get it all done tonight, we know that.
Oh, yeah, no, I
But, you
mean,
know, there's more
after
to
she
do.
rewrites this, we can
Look at it.
actually have something to.
The Olympics are on.
Oh. Well, with that being said, anything else, or would you like to adjourn? Motion to adjourn,
Are we
second,
quitting tonight?
I'm just
All in
getting
favor?
started.
Get wound up, I'm ready to go
Hold
now.
on, we need.
Wait, do we get-
We need to, see, does anybody on Zoom have anything to say?
Forgot that.
Ask.
All right.
You
Okay,
sure?
so motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Who made the motion?
Barbara.
Oh,
Harry,
and Harry, second by Harry.
wait till we get into the alcohol. That's a fun one.
Now we're talking.